Reasonable Doubt, Season 3, Episode 5 hit us with the Uno reverse. Now, the last few episodes, I could have swore Ozzy was innocent. He did not kill Wendy. But now, I'm second guessing and I'm side-eyeing Ozzy. Like, did he kill Wendy? Also, before we get started, can we give Jax a round of applause? She is a hell of an attorney. She is killing it in court. And whether Ozzy did it or not, I think Jack's going to get the boy off. But if you're new here, let me introduce myself. My name is Brandi, and I realize that you could be on any channel in the world, but you're right here with me, and I really do appreciate that. So please go ahead and like this video. It really does help the channel out, and I deeply appreciate it. And also subscribe to my channel if you do like watching TV show reviews and also movie reviews. Now, after I go over my recap, I want to give my theory of who I think killed Wendy. I know it's a little early on, but hell, we are halfway through the season now. This is episode 5, and I believe we only get 10 episodes, so it's time to play that guessing game. And my only complaint about this episode is that they try to cram a lot of information into this one little episode. I mean, it's a lot to talk about here, but let's start off with talking about the trial. So episode 5 kicks off with us seeing both Jax and Ozzy getting ready for the first day of trial. Now Ozzy, he's having trouble putting on his tie, and we see Monica come and help him put on his tie. She gives him a motherly hug. And my question is, where are Ozzy's parents? At such an important date in his life, why aren't the mom and the dad at his house? Why is Monica there? So in the courtroom, the prosecutor gives his opening remarks to the jury, stating why Ozzy should be charged with second-degree murder. And then Jax gets up there. She does her opening remarks, and she always does well with her opening remarks. She absolutely kills it. She's spitting bars, and she's basically saying, like, there's no physical evidence against Ozzy. They don't even have GPS information of Ozzy driving from his house to his cabin where Wendy was actually killed. In the next scene, we see Jax and Daniel at Ozzy's house because they really need an alibi. That's the one thing that Jax is missing for her to have a slam dunk and getting Ozzy off. And so she's asking him again, like, listen, who were you with that night? We need an alibi. And Ozzy is just steady lying. He says that he just got high that night and he was watching the first 48. And then they asked Ozzy for his passwords to his streaming service. I think they used HULU on this episode just to prove that he was home that night watching the first 48. Jax now asks Daniel to leave the room because she wants to talk to Ozzy privately. And she confronts him about Monica in a very smooth fashion. Jax, she's smooth. No other way to describe her. So he inadvertently admits that Monica is the one that has been SAing him since he's been 13 years old. But he begs Jax not to tell his parents because his parents got enough going on and he doesn't want to put that on his parents' plate. Meanwhile, Daniel is talking to Ozzy's sister in another room and they're flirting with each other, and she airdrops him the passwords to Ozzy's streaming service. Although Ozzy's sister gives Daniel the passwords to Ozzy's streaming services just to prove his alibi that he actually was home that night watching TV, that issue is not really resolved on this episode. In fact, a few different issues aren't resolved or seen on this episode. For one, we didn't see Jackson Lewis's daughter at all on this episode, Naima. We didn't revisit Tommy and his wife's situation. And I've been craving to just see a scene of someone talking to Wendy's family or her friends, besides Cash Doll, right? I just want to see Wendy's people and their perspective a little bit more. That's one thing that's missing from the season so far. Meanwhile, through all of this drama, we keep seeing Ozzy's sister getting the call, and the caller ID pops up fuck no. Like, fuck no keeps calling her, and she does confirm to Daniel that it's a guy, but she doesn't say much else. But later on, we find out in the episode that fuck no is actually Alex. Now, back at court, the prosecutor brings out the medical examiner and also the homicide detective that found Wendy's body at Ozzy's cabin. And we find out that Wendy was shot in her arm and that she had rope burns on her arms and her ankles, I believe. And her body shows signs of a struggle. Now, Jax and Tommy, they get up there, and again, they're just very evidence-based, very based on just scientific information. And they're like, listen, when you found Wendy's body and you examined her, did you find Ozzy's DNA under her nails? And then Jax asked, did you find Ozzy's fingerprints on the gun that was right by Wendy's body that the detective found? And the detective says no. But I think that it's very convenient that, Ozzy would kill Wendy and leave his gun right by her body, right? That's very weird. Like, again, it's just a lot of back and forth, like in my brain, whether Ozzy killed her or not. But we're going to talk about that suspect list in just a minute. Jax also brings up a string of burglaries in that area near Ozzy's cabin that the detective didn't even investigate. Now we see Jax go pop up on Mama Lou. And do you know I was today years old when I figured out that, well, I didn't figure out, I saw it on Reddit actually. Somebody mentioned that Mama Lou is Denzel Washington's wife in real life. I did not know that. I did not put that together. But I can't stand this character. I hate this character so bad. So Jax pops up on her mama. Her mama is taking a walk with friends at the park, and Jax confronts her like, hey, why did you tell my dad all of my business? Mama Lou is trying to keep it cool at first. She's not confirming or denying any of the information. She's just hearing Jax out, right? And Jax is like, if you guys want to have your own pillow talk, then can you talk about something else? Why do you have to talk about me? And if you do want to talk about me to my dad that I'm not ready to divulge all of my business to, then did you tell him about Paul? Now, Paul is Mama Lou's ex that used to S.A. Jax when she was younger. And now, so Mama Lou, you see Mama Lou, she not taking no accountability at all. And again, I just can't stand her mama. I really think that Jax needs to cut off her mom for just a little bit, right? Her mom, again, just spilled all the tea to Eddie. Her mom with the situation with Paul when she was younger. Why would you be with a man that S.A.'d your daughter? Like, I could never. But nonetheless, Mama Lou just flips the script on Jax. Looks like Jax is feeling bad at the end of the conversation, and Mama Lou just steps off. But again, Jax, just cut your mama off. It's okay to cut mamas off. Now we see Fuck No pop up at Ozzy's house, right? So the sister, she answers the door. Like, well, she wouldn't answer the phone call for him. Why would she answer the door for him? I'd just be so confused. But she answers the door for him, and he is demanding $100,000 from them unless he is going to the prosecutor. He mentions, I believe, that he had some kind of video evidence, and if he doesn't get the money ASAP, that he's going to turn state evidence. And his sister asked him, like, what happened to the $10,000 that we already gave you? And he mentioned that it's just very expensive in LA and that he needs more money. But my question is, what did they get him $10,000 for, right? I'm curious, like, is Alex really the villain here? Did he really kill Wendy? But again, we're going to get into that suspect list. And now we get to Lewis and his stupidity. I am trying to rock with Lewis. I really am. Lewis, I was rooting for you. Why would he go and sit down with his wife's employee to help track her dad? Like, Lewis, if you want to track her dad, track Eddie's whereabouts, see what he's up to, make sure he's safe to be around your family, that's cool. But why would you use Daniel? But anyway, he meets with Daniel. He asks for a tracker, right? He says he needs a tracker. He wants to put it on Eddie's car. Daniel doesn't necessarily give in, but he tells Lewis how he could get a tracker. Lewis gets a hold of the tracker and he puts it on Eddie's car, and he proceeds to follow Eddie around. And he does see Eddie in like a shady situation. Like, he's going into like a motel, hotel type situation with a guy that has a gun on his waist. So Lewis is concerned, like, what is he doing going with that guy? Like, is Eddie relapsing? Is he back into drugs? But I'm like, Lewis, it's 2025. Like, everybody's strapped now, bro. But anyway, he see that as a clue. So he goes back to Daniel again, like, listen, I need you to investigate further. And Daniel was like, listen, you got to pay me. Like, I cannot help you out for free. So Lewis agrees to pay Daniel. And even in that moment, Lewis was being soft because he was like, when Daniel said, you got to pay me, what would your immediate response be? Comment down below. Let me know. If somebody said, okay, you got to pay me, what would you say? You would say, how much? Lewis says, okay, just email me your price. What? Who says that? I'd be like, how much? And if Daniel says, what, $1,000? Listen, can you do it for $700? Because I don't really need you to do X, Y, and Z. I just need you to do A, B, C, D, and E. You know, you just negotiate in person. You don't negotiate in an email. But again, I am rooting for my Taurus King. And let's see what he turns up, because I don't think that the writers of this show will make Lewis go through all of these hoops of fire for nothing. But I think he should at least tell Jax what he's up to just a little bit. I mean, she really might side with him. Because we see on this episode too, when Jax goes to meet with her daddy in a hotel, she's trying to find out more information just on drug addicts in general, so it'll help her with her Ozzy case, but she's trying to get some closure with her dad too. Not really closure, but she's trying to get some understanding from her dad on why he wasn't a good father while she was growing up, right? So my thing is, like, their marriage is a little bit weird. Like, Jax goes to talk to her dad, but she doesn't tell Lewis. Lewis is tracking dad, but he doesn't tell Jax. Like, are y'all really down for each other? Are y'all really friends? Because Lewis, when he pops the tracker onto Lewis's car, he sees Jax coming out of the hotel. Like, and neither one of them are talking to each other. That's just ridiculous. Now, back at court, we see Ozzy's ops hitting the stand. We see his ex-girlfriend hit the stand. We see his neighbor hit the stand. And we see Wendy's assistant, Cash Doll, hit the stand. Now, the ex-girlfriend, Jax just chews her out really quickly. The ex-girlfriend is alleging that Ozzy assaulted her. But Jax brings up, like, well, Ozzy, he had a restraining order against you, so why did you go to his house? You weren't even supposed to be at his house when you claimed that he assaulted you. And with the neighbor just was saying that he sees Ozzy arguing in his driveway all the time. And Jax refused that by saying, like, is it a crime to just argue and maybe be mean and just argue with family and friends in your own driveway? And then Cash Doll gets up there and Jax chews her out too. Cash Doll is alleging that when she figured out that Wendy had disappeared because she didn't show up to a Vogue photo shoot, that she immediately called Ozzy, like, hey, do you know where Wendy is? And she said Ozzy was really mean about the situation. Like, I don't know where she is. I don't care where she is. And Cash Doll did acknowledge that Wendy would dip off for a few days sometimes, like once in a while. I think she said about 5 times that she witnessed Wendy dip off when her and Ozzy had an argument. Wendy would get low for a few days, right? But anyway, Jax approaches the bench to talk to Cash Doll, and she says, well, you know, we noticed some emails that you were sending to clients after Wendy's disappearance. We noticed that you send out emails that's saying that you're the new head of the business, and if they have any questions that they should contact you. And Cash Doll couldn't deny it because actually it's in writing. You can't deny what you emailed the clients, right? So that just really made Cash Doll just look like a hater. And it actually looked like she may have had motive to kill Wendy as well. But now we get to the key witness on the prosecutor side, right? Alex. I guess Alex didn't get that $100K that he just asked for. I mean, damn, Alex, he didn't even give Ozzy and his sister a chance to come up with the $100K to give him. But Alex, he goes up to the stand. He states his relationship with Ozzy. He knew Ozzy since Ozzy was 13 years old. They've been on the show cousining him for quite some time. He played the older brother of Ozzy on the show, or the older cousin, something like that. And he mentioned that Ozzy kind of put him on the bench once Ozzy wanted to hang with more famous people more notable than him. And he just comes across as a weasel. He comes across as a hater too, the same way Cash Doll came across as a hater. And he alleges that he sold Ozzy drugs the night of Wendy's disappearance. He said that Ozzy called him up. He went, he brought him the drugs. I mean, who admits that they're a drug dealer on stand? I don't care what kind of deal I would get. I'm not admitting that in front of everybody. But he admits that he's a drug dealer. He gave Ozzy the drugs that night. And that Ozzy asked him to drive him to his cabin so he could go talk to Wendy. He says that he drove Ozzy to the cabin. He let Ozzy go in. Ozzy went in on his own and he heard like some kind of screaming match. He peeked in the window and he saw Wendy and Ozzy arguing. Then he went back to his car. He heard a gunshot and then he just drove off because he ain't want no parts of it. What? That don't even make no sense. So Jax takes that information and again, she chews him out too. She's like, listen, like, why didn't you call the cops then? You heard gunshots. Why didn't you call the cops? You knew Wendy disappeared. You knew everything that was going on. And we come to find out that the prosecutor offered him a deal, like offered him immunity per se for all of his drug dealing activities. Like he's not going to get locked up. Nothing's going to happen to him. And Jax makes it a point to just note that people like him, he hasn't worked as an actor in the past 10 years. He's literally pretty much broke, right? He's relying on being the CEO of his drug dealing franchise and he needs people like Ozzy. And again, she goes back to the evidence because the evidence don't lie, right? Yeah, you have a toll receipt that states that you drove to Ozzy's cabin the night of Wendy's disappearance. And you said you drove with Ozzy, but how did we know that Ozzy was really with you? And then she presents his long rap sheet, and she just discredits his credibility as a witness. And in the next scene, we see the prosecutor, Chad. He is crashing out. He is emotionally unstable. He really wants to win this case against Jax. Now, outside of the courtroom, Jax runs into Monica in what looks like the parking deck. And she confronts Monica about S.A.ing Ozzy. And Monica pretty much tries to flip the script on Jax. And it's a rare occasion when you see Jax getting chewed out. But Monica kind of low-key chewed Jax out just a bit. She says that she has been there for Ozzy. She keeps him out of trouble. She keeps the enablers away from him. And she keeps like the whores away from him from getting pregnant too, including Wendy. Jax goes on to say that she thinks that Monica actually killed Wendy, and Wendy is like, no way, I did not kill her. And their argument just ends off with Jax saying, just leave Ozzy the fuck alone. And this episode ends off with us seeing Monica burning a hoodie. So it looks like she's burning evidence, and she says it's to protect Ozzy. So it's like, was she at the cabin that night when Wendy got killed? How did she get a hold of this hoodie? A lot of questions that go unanswered, which leads us to the suspect list. So let's talk. I know I'm not supposed to really like give out wild theories so soon, again, because we're only halfway through the season and we don't have all of the details. Now, from the last few episodes, I was thinking that Ozzy was not guilty. I thought that he was just high in his house. But now that Alex is saying all of these things and we don't have any proof, I had to put Ozzy back on the suspect list. Him, Monica, she's obviously a suspect. His parents, I think it's very weird how his parents are absent during very important moments in his life. Like, we don't see them helping him get ready for trial, talking to him after trial. But my wild theory is this. Again, we are not seeing anybody from Wendy's side speak up. I really think whoever killed Wendy is a friend of Wendy, an associate of Wendy, or even Wendy's sister, right? But my number one suspect is Cash Doll. It's something suspicious about Cash Doll. And she definitely knew Alex. Think about it. Cash Doll was Wendy's assistant. So they worked on the set of My Cousins and Them, the show, and she would have known Alex. So we know that somebody was at the cabin at night besides Ozzy, besides Alex, if that's even true that Ozzy was there. I'm not even certain that Ozzy was at the cabin, but it totally could have been Cash Doll there, right? Like, sometimes you get in an argument with your significant other, you might call your girl up, right? So not only is Cash Doll probably Wendy's assistant, but she's probably Wendy's friend. And unfortunately, like Jax proved on a stand, Cash Doll wanted to take Wendy's spot. So I suspected Cash Doll before, just because, again, like, I don't think the writers would make it so easy. Like, it's too obvious that it will be Ozzy or his sister. Like, it's pointing at them, right? Like, it's somebody from Ozzy's side. But I really think we're going to get hit with a crazy plot twist, but it's going to be somebody affiliated with Wendy. So to be clear, my suspects at this point, and I know it's too early, but I'm just having fun and playing guessing game, right? I think it's Cash Doll. It's Wendy's sister. It could be Ozzy, Ozzy's sister, Ozzy's mom, Ozzy's dad, Monica, or it could have been Alex. Alex could have just hired a few hitmen just to set Ozzy up because he definitely hates Ozzy. But nonetheless, put your comments down below. Let me know your theories. Who do you think at this point killed Wendy? And guys, make sure you turn on your notifications for the next recap. And if you made it this far in the video and you like this content, make sure you give the video a big fat thumbs up. I will see you next time. Peace.